On your PMP exam, you may be challenged to choose a project based on some certain scenarios, conditions, or information. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about how do you answer those types of questions. How do you choose a project? Your goal, if you are put in that scenario, is to choose the most valuable project. Choose the project that gives the most value to the organization. So you might have to use some scoring models. So you're going to look at the worthiness of the score. So you might have to say project A versus project B, and then the characteristics are scored. So you might have schedule, cost, vendor experience. Have you worked with them before? Is there a warranty or guarantee? So those are all factors that you can score, and then you would score up for project A and then project B and choose the one with the highest score. So that's a scoring model, real simple. And then you might have a benefit to cost ratio. It has 3 benefits to 2 cost. 3 benefits to 2 cost. Pay attention to those because sometimes it could be a cost to benefit ratio. So most of the times it's benefits to cost, but we could reverse it and make it a cost to benefits. You want the project that has the most benefits in relation to cost. What's the overall purpose of the project? Is it to add a feature? Is it to improve throughput? Is it something that you'd like to do and you've wanted to do for years? Or is it a regulation? Is it a new law? So you have to do it. So the purpose of the project could also affect the value of the project. You might have to do future value and present value. Don't get scared by these, and I'm sure you're not scared. I'm talking about that other guy. So future value and present value is a way of looking at how much money is the project worth now or in the future. And then you want to choose the one that is of the highest value. So here's the scenario. The future value question, you have to use the formula. You take the present value times 1 plus I to the power of n. I represents the interest rate. They may come out and say the interest rate. They might say the rate of return, something like that. N is the number of time periods, how long the project is going to last. So here's the scenario. I come to you and I say, hey, I'm going to have a project that needs $500,000, and it's going to be lasting for 3 years. And you would say, well, that's pretty expensive. Can I take that $500,000 and just put it in an investment and beat the value of my project in 3 years? So that's why you would use future value. You want to see what's the present value worth in the future. So here's a scenario. I need $450,000 for my project for 3 years. And the rate of return, the interest rate, is 5%. So our future value formula would be 450,000 times 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3. All right? So it's the power of 3, not times 3. So 450,000 times 1.05 times 1.05 times 1.05, and that would be 1.57. So if we multiply that out, 450K times 1.157 is $520,650. So here's what all that means. The project that I propose to you must be worth more than $520,000 in 3 years. So if I say I need $450,000 for this project, and it's going to take 3 years, and you do the math, and in 3 years it's only worth $490,000, unless I'm really obligated to do that project, that's not a good choice. It would be better to take the $450,000 and go put it in an investment somewhere where I could get a 5% return or 6% or whatever they tell us in the exam. So you might have an exam question where you have 2 or 3 projects, and you've got to choose which one is the best project based on future value. So know this and know that whatever the answer is for future value, your project has to beat that value. It has to be worth more than what the value would be if you just invested it somewhere safely at 5%. The next formula that you want to be familiar with choosing a project is present value. Present value takes a future dollar amount and reduces it to a present value. So in this scenario, it's very similar. The formula, instead of multiplying, is divide. So you take the future value divided by 1 plus I to the power of n. Still, I is the interest rate, n is the number of time periods. So for example, we have a project that I say to you will be worth $860,000 in 3 years. And the interest rate is 5%. So using this, I want to see, well, that's off in the future. What is that worth today? So I would say $860,000 divided by 1.05 to the power of 3, do the same math, and then I'm dividing instead of multiplying, would be worth $743,301. So if I were going to invest in this project, your project would have to cost less than $743,301 to be a valuable investment. So if your project costs $750,000, I would actually be losing, plus taking on the risk of the project, of about $7,000. It would be safer to invest that money at 5%. So on your exam, you may see you have to find the future value and the present value. Now you likely won't have to calculate this final one, and that's net present value. What net present value does, it finds the present value on the project where each year promises a return. So let's say you had a project that you were going to roll out over 3 years. You had different phases, and at the end of each phase or the end of each year, there would be some return on investment. So I wouldn't wait all the way to the end of 3 years to see a value. I could see a value at year 1, year 2, and year 3, or however long your project lasted. For each year where I got a return on investment, or each time period where I received a return on investment, I could find the present value for that time period. So I would find present value for year 1, year 2, and year 3. Then I would sum up the present value, and I would subtract the original investment from the sum of the present value. And basically anything greater than 1 is good and less than 1 is bad. So you probably won't have to do that on your exam, but just be familiar with that idea of net present value. All right, good job. Let's keep moving forward.